Thank you, John. It's such an honor to be here. Well, poetry, there are 12,000 people that admit to writing, but poetry just doesn't sell. A famous poet could sell maybe 400 books, and he would make that much money taking one trip reading his poetry. So poetry is you have to be determined to write it. I mean, you have to write it. It's something that must come out of you, and you must get down on paper. And so poetry, though, I think will make a resurgence. I think that now the bookshelves are loaded with poetry books. That's right. I know. Robert Haas, my favorite poet, said that singing is poetry, and singing is the music that governs our lives. It's second, but it's still selling well and all over the country, and it's amazing to me. China, Japan, yes, the young people. Well, it's why I did the book. I was driving from giving a paper on poetry at the Study Club, and I was driving home, and I turned on the radio to celebrate because the paper was over, and I wanted to hear music, and I heard instead the Columbine news of Columbine. So I rode up a little further and past our schools, and I thought, I've got to do something to show these young people that we care. So at that time, a ray of sunshine lit on my poems in the seat beside him, and I said, that's it. That's the one thing an old lady can do for young people. And so I ran home, called the publisher, Andy Miller, who's a friend of mine in the church, and I said, I want to do this. And he said, bring them in. If they're good, we'll do it. And so we did it, and they sold out books that should have sold in 4 years, sold out in 4 months. All right, this is the title poem, Quiet Voices. Quiet voices clothe winter's jagged edge. Dove murmur secrets under velvet breath. Blurred hills stand still, frozen to woolen sky, stand to wait in line outside in freezing rain. Black satin streams bathe themselves beneath down robes of snow. Above their flowing nakedness, whispers of vapor rise to trace their sleek unwinding through muted browns of fields laid by. Night reads to himself from poets of starlight. Day gathers clouds for the table. Quiet voices need not speak for those who listen to hear peace. I think I'm keyed to nature, and I think it was, and yet I write about the people of Franklin and Nashville too, and so this is a bit of nature, a bit of the home, and it encompasses much of what I am. Yes. Well, that says it all. We get to a point and we think, this is where I'm supposed to be. And you feel good in that point, at that point, and you step out of the rat race and you say, close the door behind me. I want peace. I want to be here by myself where I belong. This is the floor. This is as high as I go, and it doesn't bother me. Well, yes, I was sitting at Warner Park, parked. It was raining. My daughter Alice was a cross-country runner, and she was practicing running through the course at Warner Park. And I sat there and in the rain and saw the wonderful, wonderful tones of gray and winter and the hills, and I remember that very vividly. I can feel that moment. Oh, that's one of my favorites. This one, of course, I see the fireworks that we all saw from the golf course, and this is a tribute to my brother Cecil, who was killed in World War II, not too long before the end of it. The ground is always hard beneath the spread of 4th of July quilts, and the wait is always a little longer than children want to wait. So they lay back and look up, cupping shaggy heads in stubby laced fingers, crossing brown legs to jiggle a white sneaker anxiously in the air. Wish away the daylight that dawdles now at compressing its sprint color into floating stripes of rose pink, then tucks them away behind the hills. Together we wait for this reluctant night to pull a black canopy up around her neck. Then cannons roar and soar and streak. 1,000 mouths gape in open wonder as if on cue. Earth quivers, innards quake, heavens burst and run down the face of sky. We have duly impregnated this summer with celebration. Our flag, drawn in burning embers, is seared into the night. Applause crisply, contagiously ripples, some whistle through their teeth. This 4th of July fizzles and goes out. Dark erases all mention of our intrusion. Mothers meticulously fold their quilts. Children take their fathers' hands, fan out, collecting little family groups. Drawn to unerring magnets to front stoops, they turn to stare back into the empty night, searching for the faces of their lost brothers who must forever come to pay the cost of our independence, our 4th of July. Well, that line came from, the last line came from a writing seminar at Vanderbilt, and George Scarborough asked us to write one line, and so that is the line I wrote. And I had a terrible time making a poem to come up to that line. I was used to, and he said, make that the last line of your poem. And I was used to starting at the first, and it was like building a house from the roof down instead of from the way you're used to. But I do think that's one of the best lines I ever wrote, and I remember that I was sitting in the classroom of younger people, as I usually am when I go to these things. And I read that, and they all turned. They hadn't noticed me before, but they did. It speaks to a lot of us. Words conspire against me now, lurk back there just beyond my grasp, racks and racks of them, computerized responses, my software, labeled in appropriate combinations, my great unspoken punchlines, clever repartee, misplaced names and places, who wait now until the meeting adjourns. The receiver is hung up, the elevator door closes, the plane takes off, the party is over. Then they emerge with a smirk, drag their feet just inside the entry to my mind, as if they have been there all the time. Present their engraved cue card on a silver tray, bowing from the waist. I grab the ball, go up for the layup, but the final buzzer has sounded. The crowd is filing from the arena. I am left hanging on the rim, groping forever in midair for the word that came to me too late. Yes, they are expanding their press and doing a very good job of it. And I was privileged to be one of their authors. I do, and it's so much more fun than having to sell it. But it's it goes to it enables me to do things that I wouldn't be able to do before. And this community child care, I've been there from the beginning, founding of it, and it's just so wonderful. Only she wasn't very little for very long. She outgrew her bassinet, her walker, and her stroller. And when she started to school, they always put Alice at the very back of the line. When her class went to the zoo, all the children wanted to sit by Alice on the bus and be her partner. And when they had ice cream, the zooman always saw Alice first. Sometimes he gave her seconds, and Alice always shared. I am so lucky, Alice said, to be too tall. No, Alice, you cannot be the princess. We do not have a tall prince. You may be the witch. Alice was such a tall and scary witch, no one noticed the prince and princess. Too tall, the children said, you were a real witch. I am not so lucky to be too tall, Alice said. They call me Too Tall Alice at school, Alice said. Oh, no, Alice said. Someone else would have to be too tall. Who would I be? I want to be me. I want to be too tall. Hi, Alice said, smiling down at them. You mean in the book? She loved it. She came to the book signing with her children, and her teachers came, and Ingalls, the principal, came, and Dr. Willoughby and we had 400. Yes, she took it to her meetings. She's a businesswoman, and working mother of 2 children, and when she introduced it, she said, and we plan to have Too Tall Alice dolls. And so the men, they were all men at the meeting, said, only if they are life-size. Oh, I think the future is great. I think there are unlimited uh, ti unlimited places for it to go. It doesn't take up much time to read. It is of an expression of feelings that are very intense with all of us now. We need poetry. Poetry began, Frost said, with a lump in our throat, and it goes to love sickness or homesickness and thought, and then the thought finds the words, and it's just a remedy for a lot of our ills.